Gad Ben Sabat is here. Welcome, Gad.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome.
And we usually start off really simply by asking our entrepreneurs what they do for a living and tell us about your business.
Well, we're a baby store. We sell everything from educational toys to strollers, car seats, clothing, baby furniture, youth furniture.
Is this for any age, or like what age do you kind of stop at?
Well, we stop at 2 years old, but we do make custom youth beds, so basically you can use them up till they're teenagers or out of the house.
Now, what's really interesting, what I think the listeners are going to enjoy is your background had nothing to do with baby furniture and any of these toys or anything like it. Tell us a little bit of your background and kind of where you came from and why you decided to get into this business.
Well, my background is in IT. I worked for over 10 years for a company called CGI. I was a director in business development. I think that was in outsourcing. So my background is also in sales. Basically, working for major companies, I had to come up with a strategy that would make them save from 10 to 20%. Basically, I would put in a lot of hours, build solutions, and like I mentioned, I traveled a lot. And after a certain while, my wife and I, she's also a partner in the business. She's an optometrist, so her background is not in the baby industry. So basically what we did is at one point we wanted to move from Montreal and go into a warmer country where there's palm trees and coconuts.
As we stare outside at the sunny day.
And as you can see, we're still here in Montreal. So basically we came out with a business plan. It took us 2 years. We followed the business plan and we opened up the store in Montreal.
Now, what was the genesis? Why the baby domain? Why the kid stuff?
Okay, well, first of all, we had our daughter not about 11 years and a half ago, and we were very much involved in the daycare, and we were traveling back and forth to Florida in the winter times and summer times, and we noticed there was nothing really out there for the babies, whether it was in Florida or in Montreal for educational tours, modern furniture, even strollers, car seats. So we thought there was a niche.
And when you're developing your business plan and you really don't know much about this business, where do you start? Like, there's a lot of people that get into their business, a lot of entrepreneurs that are looking to say, okay, what's my first step, second step, third step? But this is really brand new to you. So what is your first step when you look and stare at that business plan? What do you got to find out first?
Well, first of all, you got to see what's out there on the market. That's the first thing. Second thing is, what is it that you exactly want to do? And thirdly is we went at various trade shows. We looked at what was out there and what we were allowed to bring into Canada because there are security and standards that we need to respect. So once we've done that, we afterwards searched for a location and we started off from there.
Now, it's interesting. You're talking about security standards. You're talking about furniture, kids, babies. That's got to be high priority anywhere. I mean, certainly in the United States when you're starting. In a very litigious environment, what steps do you take to make sure that the quality of the goods that you're selling, that you could be on the hook for, are the right ones?
Well, the first thing is we won't bring in any product that is not approved in Canada or in the States. Because we're here in Canada, we'll bring only the products that are approved in Canada. Now, Canada has one of the highest and the strictest standards in the world. Therefore, we'll look at the reviews, see what the reviews are, what the customers are looking for, and of course if it has a warranty and if there's any recall. So we'll try to bring in only the high rated products that we think is the best. So basically we do the homework for our clients.
And how did you go about determining that there was a need for this type of business in Montreal? What kind of research or groundwork did you do before you got into the business?
Okay. Well, like I mentioned earlier, we have a daughter. And when we were looking for her, we didn't find much out there. And myself and my wife, I mean, we like nice things. And we were looking out there to find nice things, and we didn't find. So basically, we said, why not?
Mm-hmm. And so did you survey the competition? Did you drive around the city? How did you do that?
Yes, we did. We did it at first. We didn't do it since because we focus on our own business. We brought in a lot of trends in Montreal, in Quebec. We had exclusivity with some products. So therefore, we make our own homework and we do the homework for the parents.
Now, we were talking about the quality before, and you're making sure that all the products are really up to code, up to standard, which of course is the manufacturer's responsibility. Is that a constant monitoring process for you when you're talking about checking for recalls and all that? You really got to stay on top of it.
Definitely. So basically, it's our first question we ask when there's a trendy product out there that does all kinds of functionalities and it looks good. The first question that comes up is it safe for Canada? Because Canada is a small market. Manufacturers do produce for the States, for Europe. So when we say Canada, they say you're only 30 million. I mean, this is the population of California. So they look at us with like a crooked eye. So we make sure it meets all the standards.
Now, does that mean that your buying power is limited, that your options and selection are limited?
Yes, in one sense, but there's a lot of good products on there that exceed the standards in security.
Now, as a small business and an entrepreneur with, I'm sure at the outset, limited funds, there's, I have no doubt, a whole array of products and manufacturers. How do you go with little knowledge of the industry itself and the products? How do you determine which lines you start with?
So we started off with the business plan. So we made sure that we have categories. So for example, we have car seats. We're going to limit ourselves to the best three rated. So the first, the second, and the third. We're going to go with the strollers. Same thing. We're going to get we're going to bring in the best one that is for jogging, the best double stroller, the best lightweight stroller. So we go by categories. And my wife is also very involved in the purchasing, so she does a lot of it for everything that is accessories.
When you were talking, you keep mentioning this business plan. Was it a difficult document to prepare? What was the hardest part? What was the most eye-opening? And did you stick to it, or did it keep moving?
Well, you know what? It's strange, but we did follow it at the beginning, the first few years, and when we look back, we say, "Wow, it really happened what we planned." So it's funny that you mentioned that. We did fix it. We tweaked it a little bit as we were going on because I mean, obviously, when you start it, it's on paper, but then when reality comes, you have to adjust yourself, which we did.
Did you use that document as kind of a platform and a base, and do you check yourself against it at least at the outset?
Yes, we did because we put in numbers. We also had a budget, and we had no choice because we went with that business plan to the bank so they can give us a small loan, small business loan. So we had no choice.
Which and it's very interesting because you come from this IT background, and your wife, as you mentioned, your partner comes from an optometrist background, and yet you're in this business kind of starting from scratch. Is it difficult when you went to the bank? Was it difficult to convince them that you guys can actually run a business where you had little to no experience in?
Not at all. What happened was that we had to inject some funds of our personal, and also working for CGI and with the title that I had, with the background that my wife has as an optometrist, they had confidence in us, and the branch was right across our business. So also, they saw what we were going to offer.
And I think as we find when we come back after the break, small business, new start, new product, new bank line, cash management certainly comes into play. Cash flow management. We're going to explore that when we come back after the break.
Gad Ben-Sabat of Baby Boutique Pinkiblue, our guest this evening on Today's Entrepreneur. 7:19 on CJAD, inspiring stories from outstanding business people. Dan Delmar, along with Fuller Landau's Josh Miller for Today's Entrepreneur, and our guest is Gad Ben-Sabat of Baby Boutique Pinkiblue. And Gad, when you're starting a new business, borrowing money, putting your own money into the business, you certainly have to watch your cash and your cash flow. Tell us about some of the challenges there, especially when you started Pinkiblue.
Well, definitely, like you mentioned, cash flow is always an issue. So we did inject our personal money into the company because we did believe into it. We dealt with the bank. They helped us at the beginning. It wasn't always easy because they weren't that proactive. We had to be behind them. So every time we had to go behind them, we had to inject our own money, and it became harder. But then everything stabilized, and like every new business, it's always hard at the beginning. And the thing is not to be discouraged and to always go forward. So, I mean, a little anecdote is that for cash flow, we own a house. Our basement was our warehouse. So sometimes we had to go back to our house, get the merchandise, come back to the store. I mean, we had to keep the cost low. So this is a little experience that we had back then. Now we own two warehouses, so we don't have to go back and forth.
Now, do you have any today? I know is far different than when you started about 8 years or so ago, but do you have certain management information systems that you monitor so that you can kind of keep tabs on your cash flow? How do you know where you're at any given point in time?
Well, here's the thing. We're set up with a very good POS system. A POS is a point of sale system. It helps us. Everything is inventoried, so and everything is computerized. Having an IT background, I didn't want to limit myself with an old program or in-house program. So basically, we brought in a very good program that is Montreal-based company that runs on the Apple computer system. To make a long story short, we have summaries, we have reports. So we look into them. We see what sells better, how long we kept the stock, should we reorder or not. So it helps us forecast. This is one option. The other option is being on the floor as well in the store. I see what's out there. I see what's in the aisles. Lisa, my partner as well, will go around the store and see what's missing or not, as well as the other employees.
So you're saying you have the computer system that gives you a certain amount of information, but your eyes are an important factors where your eyes, your ears, the other senses are important as well. You don't only rely on the computer.
Definitely, we use both. I think the computer is one thing, but being on the floor and see what's on the shelf, using our eyes is another.
Is everybody has those eyes? Like everybody kind of has input on where you're going, or really is it focused on one or two people specific?
I would say maybe four main people. So basically, it would be myself, my partner. There's also my sister who works in the company, and my brother as well.
A family business. But as we stay with cash flow management, and I'm sure there's, as you're dealing with your buying and your fluctuation of how your inventory and your stock throughout the year, that too becomes a challenge in and of itself to make sure that everything is on track and in place. And when we come back, we'll explore a little bit about buying patterns and what's succeeded, what's worked well for Gad.
Gad Ben-Sabat of baby boutique Pinkiblue, our guest on Today's Entrepreneur. 726 on Today's Entrepreneur. Our guest is Gad Ben-Sabat of baby boutique Pinkiblue, and we're talking about how Gad handles his cash flow, how he handles his inventory. He has a POS system, a point of sale system, very familiar to those in the restaurant industry, Josh, but I'm sure also very practical for everyone else to keep track in a very detailed way of what's going on in your business. Gad, has the POS system ever told you something that you didn't know already as an entrepreneur? Has it made you discover things about your business you didn't realize at first?
Well, yeah. For one report specifically is with my eyes I can see what sells, but the report allows me to say, okay, on Mondays maybe it's a better day than on Tuesday or on a Wednesday. So sometimes what it helps us do is that we can forecast or inventory or purchasing, or if we do it over a 6 months period or 1 year, we know when to get convertible car seats, for example, or lightweight strollers, or manage when people are traveling. So it helps us.
Has your eye ever been more accurate than the computer?
Yeah, when the computer is down.
Even better. So now let's talk a little bit about buying, because as many or hopefully all entrepreneurs know, while you can make your money selling, you really make your money buying. There's no question about it that if you're on top of it and you have the opportunity to buy at the right time and forecast properly and know when things are needed, that's when you can really make your bucks. What kind of lessons have you learned over the years, and what kind of buying pattern, how much do you rely, and what are your plans and thought process behind buying opportunities?
Like you mentioned, it's very important. So what we do is we try to plan. Planning is a key, because if you don't plan, you can be without products. Let me explain myself. Strollers, when you order them through the supplier, or car seats, they produce what has been ordered from the various retailers. They don't carry overstock. So if I don't plan in advance, I may be without strollers for 2-3 months, or car seat, which are the most important pieces. This is why parents come at first to the store. So we forecast that. So what happens is when we buy, we try to buy as much strollers that we can afford. We stock them. So like this, people can come in, purchase it, and leave with the item. If they don't want to leave with the item, we can keep it for them. So what happens is sometimes some months we can be low on cash flow. For example, there's a brand we just purchased. We took like hundreds of those items. We locked our cash flow for those items because we know in 2 months from now there won't be any available. So across Canada, because we are an online store, people will call us because they'll be traveling shortly. They'll need, for example, lightweight strollers. We know we'll have most of all the strollers out there. So this is one strategy.
Did you ever have to work with your bank several times, say, hey, you know what? I have a buying opportunity. I need a few extra dollars. Can we work together?
Definitely. We tried that in past. We tried to increase our margin, and we were never very successful. We didn't have luck with our branches that we worked with, and we're looking to work with different alternatives.
Banking woes, entrepreneurs always live them, and certainly it's a struggle uphill sometimes. But as long as you feed them the right information, the bankers, and you open their eyes a little bit, and it needs a little bit of pushing, then certainly things can happen. You mentioned online sales, and I think when we come back from the break, marketing will be a good topic as he comes from not only an IT background, but business development as well.
Also, before the hour is up, I will talk HR and what you could do with your employees to sort of make them feel good heading into the summer months. That's coming up on Today's Entrepreneur. 7:36, welcome back to Today's Entrepreneur, presented by Fuller Landau, a program about the entrepreneurial spirit that drives Quebec business. Dan Delmar and Fuller Landau's Josh Miller with you, and our guest this evening, Gad Ben-Sabat of baby boutique Pinkiblue.
And just before we left, we were kind of about to explore marketing. Now, you're a retail store, you got to get the word out there. Gad himself has an IT background, business development. What have you brought to the table at Pinkiblue, and what has worked for you, and maybe what hasn't worked for you that you learned from?
Well, what I've learned from is you definitely got to be out there online. You got to have a good back-end system that is powerful. So what we've done is our mentality was to post only the items online that are available. We won't post items that are not in stock. So we don't want a customer to purchase something and not be able to not have it within the time required to deliver it.
Do you find that that is something that was a goal that you said, I need to be set apart from everybody else so that I can have a short delivery time frame?
Definitely. And not only that, there's a lot of businesses out there that they will put the whole catalog online when in fact they stock maybe 10% of those items. And we don't have the mentality. It's not part of our philosophy. We will post only the items we have in stock.
You know, maybe 10 years ago, people were saying you have to have a website. Maybe today, Gad, are they saying you have to have an e-commerce site?
Definitely, you need an e-commerce. More and more, there's more people buying online, more individuals living in the suburbs. For example, we have lots of customers outside from Quebec. They will order from New Brunswick, Alberta, Saskatchewan, where not everybody lives in the downtown area.
What have you found to be the biggest challenge of having an online customer website?
Well, the biggest challenge is that sometimes some products are no longer on the market, so you got to keep it up to date and remove the items, because what happens is when you leave it on, they always buy that item.
Always the one that kind of is discontinued.
Exactly. So that's one thing we have to look for. The second thing we have to look for is MSRP. Suppliers sometimes, with a very short notice, they will ask you to make a promo, reduce the price. Therefore, you have to put it out there. If you don't, somebody else might put it, and you might lose sales.
Because you're not exclusive with all your brands. So how do you make sure your competition, or how does the supplier make sure that you're all on an even keel, that you're not selling one stroller for $2.99 and somebody else is undercutting you at $2.49, for example?
Well, the word goes around very quickly. I mean, if by mistake, let's say I'll put a car seat under the suggested retail price, definitely the supplier will come and say, hey, listen, there's a store out there in Vancouver noticed your website and you're selling the price cheaper. So basically, there's kind of like a police out there. The suppliers do the check themselves, as well the customers. They'll say, oh, I seen it at the other store on the other website for cheaper.
Gad, question from a texter at 514-800. How can you compete against some of the big online retailers, the big kid stores, the big retailers online? What do you offer in terms of service that they may not?
Well, the big online stores, they don't necessarily do the homework and try to choose the best product out there. Like I mentioned earlier, they'll put a wide range of catalogs, and they'll be driven by the price. What we'll do is we'll provide a much better product for probably the same price. So to compete with them, we've made a name of ourselves by offering also a very good service. People that come to the stores, they know it. We'll help them out. We'll take the car seat. We'll bring it to their car, make sure it fits. If there's a new product coming out, we will tell them there's a new product coming out. So we're not just selling to sell, because the same customer to whom we're selling, I might see them if I'm at a terrace on Montreal or downtown on Sherbrooke, and I want them to be happy. So the big online stores, they're really only driven with the price and the variety of products they can offer.
Now, when you're building your online site or your website, is it to generate sales online or is it to drive people in the store? What percentage do you think has worked for you or has succeeded?
Well, in the past years, it has increased our online business. It represents about 10 to 12% of our revenues, but it also draws a lot of clients to the store. So, for example, it's much easier to promote an item on our website, and it will bring in the clients to the store. For example, soon it's going to be Mother's Day, so we'll post a Mother's Day special or an ad welcoming the mothers. So it draws maybe 20 to 30% of the customers to the store.
Now, what about other types of marketing efforts? I mean, it's great to have the store, it's great to have your website. How do you get people to you?
Okay, well, many things. We have, the first one is also word of mouth. Clients are happy, they refer us. That's the first one. The second one is being located where we are. There's a big sign on Côte de Liesse that when you're on the highway, especially now with the traffic, you cannot not miss it. Thirdly, we also promote through Google AdWords, where we'll increase more marketing into that direction. And we also have a Facebook account where we're just starting to work out.
Now, I would imagine that part of being in retail and part of getting people to your store is location. You're in your second location now. Can you quickly tell us the choice of the first location and then the second location?
Definitely. The first location, we took it because it was close to our house. It was close to our house. It was close to my daughter's school. It was convenient. And the location was nice. There was people. People walking down the streets. They can stop by.
Where was this at the time?
It was on Queen Mary between Earncliffs and Clarendon. So we chose the location. It's funny because it used to be an office where my wife used to practice as an optometrist.
Keep it close.
Keep it close.
And now where are you?
Now we're located at 4278 Côte de Liesse. It's about 10 times the size where we were before. It's a place we renovated ourselves. You were talking about cutting on the cost. Well, initially when we opened the store, my brother had made a comment, the first store. He said, you know what, we're building everything with scissors and papers because we were building everything ourselves. The shelves we were painting, the racking system we did ourselves. And then once we opened the second location, we continue on doing the same thing. So basically, if any of you is welcome to pass by, you'll notice that everything that's in there, we built it. So my father, myself, my brother, and my wife, we build 90% of the store.
So you wanted to create a really unique sort of family feel to it?
Yeah, we wanted to make it unique, but also it's because we love what we do and it represents us. We didn't want to do something that was out there.
Mm-hmm. Nothing generic.
No, nothing generic. As a matter of fact, a very known brand, stroller brand, they copied us to make the same store displays in California.
Quickly, why on Côte de Liesse? Why that location?
Why on Côte de Liesse? We were looking for a location that was not too expensive, where there was parking, and where there was a docking system. As I mentioned earlier, we had everything in our house, in our garage. So I wanted this time for a truck to be able to come in, unload, to ease the process. So that location allows people to park. 70 people can park. They don't have to pay the meters. They can stay as long as they want. There's high ceiling, 26 feet high ceiling. There's bay windows, so it's bright, sunny, and affordable.
And I think location for any retailer is hugely important. Now, what we didn't get to, Gad, is a little bit about the human resource and some of your employees and the family members that come in. But I think we're going to tackle it a little bit when we come back from the break.
And Micheline Mayette, HR consultant with Fuller Landau, will be along, and she's also going to have some tips for employers because the weather is really nice and sunny. Everyone's in a better mood. Is it time to throw your employees a bone for the summer season? And she'll have some really interesting ideas about how you can improve morale as the weather out there is a lot better. 7:49 on today's Entrepreneur, inspiring stories from outstanding business people. Dan Delmar and Fuller Landau's Josh Miller with you, and our guests this evening, Gad Ben-Sabat of Pinkiblue, a baby boutique, and also we bring in Micheline Mayette into the conversation, HR specialist with Fuller Landau. Welcome back, Micheline.
Thank you.
And so the weather's nice, people are in better moods. Should employers now be shifting their moods, and should they be sort of cutting employees a bit of slack as we head into the summer season?
I think it's a nice perk. I mean, we only have 4 months of summer in Montreal, so, let's try to help employees get the most out of their summers, right? So a few things that we could do, if there's room for it, definitely stick some picnic tables outside. If there's any grassy areas around your building, let people at least get outside for lunch to enjoy the nice hot weather. Bike racks for people who are biking to work. So let's make people's lives a little bit more easier. Some other things companies can look at doing and that you see, more frequently, casual dress. There's nothing worse than going out in the summer at 30 degrees with a suit and tie on. So
I can vouch for that.
So if possible, loosen up the casual dress code for the summer within reason, because there's always people that are obviously going to go a bit overboard in the summer.
And what do you do? I mean, when people start abusing that system, how do you deal with that?
I just say have a clear policy on what's permitted. For example, you can do business casual or more casual dress in the summer, but, no mini skirts, maybe no flip flops, something like that. So if you're, pretty specific about the things that are not permitted, then it's pretty clear. And if you do see people, wearing things that are not appropriate, speak to them quickly about it so that it doesn't get worse. Because once somebody sees them wearing flip flops once, twice, the whole office is wearing flip-flops the next day.
And I guess it also depends who you're interacting with. I mean, are you in front of clients all the time? Are you never seeing a customer? Is it very internal? Although then you have to still be aware of image in case a customer client does walk by.
100%. And it really depends on the environment. If, a video game company, probably they have a very casual dress code all year. So it really depends on the industry. But definitely I would say something that's nice is definitely loosen up the dress code for the summer. Another thing a lot of companies are doing lately, or the past few years, is to give a summer schedule, which is very appreciated by employees. It could be to work fewer hours every day, or what I would say is even more preferred is to finish early on Fridays. So you can take advantage, and every weekend in the summer feels like a long weekend.
Is it better to be consistent throughout the whole office, or let people kind of choose when they have their flex hours?
It really depends from one company to the other. If you have customers that are calling and certain duties have to be covered at certain times, then you have to adapt your work schedule as a function of that. So, I mean, a retail store like Pinkiblue can decide everybody's leaving at 3 on Fridays because they're going to have some customer service issues.
We close every Friday at 4 o'clock. Year long.
Special circumstances.
Do you find that having these kinds of policies cut down on productivity, increase productivity, or neutral?
I wouldn't say it increases productivity because maybe there's less hours, but I would say the hours are used better during the week because people do want to leave. I think an essential part of this of having a policy like that is to remind people to make sure that their customers are being serviced properly in order to take advantage of it. So to make sure that people are responsible for getting their own work done, and usually in order to be able to leave at 3, people will be extra productive.
And certainly, or at 4 on Friday. And when we come back from the break, we'll hear kind of what Gad and Pinkiblue, a few things that he does to give some perks back to his employees.
Today's Entrepreneur on CJAD 800. Remaining moments on Today's Entrepreneur. Our guests are Gad Ben-Sabat of baby boutique Pinkiblue. We'll have his piece of advice for Today's Entrepreneur in a moment. But first, Michelle Mayette, HR consultant with Fuller Landau, on how to ease up on your employees as the summer approaches.
And I think even before we get there, I think Gad, has some interesting things that he does for his employees, maybe not just in the summer, but all year round. How do you give back to them?
What we do is most of the time Friday mornings we'll bring in croissant, cakes, sushis for the employees. We supply Nespresso coffee, water bottles. So we try to be generous with the members, the employees that work with us.
It's interesting, and I don't know the answer to this, but when you give to your employees, and it's frequent and it's often and it's scheduled almost, what happens when you don't give it the next time? Do they think poorly of the company? How do they react? As employers and entrepreneurs have to be mindful of what they've given in the past?
Yes, unfortunately, once you give something, it's harder to take it away after. So I would say before adding new benefits, really analyze if this is something you want to do in the long term. It doesn't mean that you can take it away, but you have to kind of explain why you're doing it so that it's accepted. But I think there's definitely a lot of advantages to doing it, just in terms of, it's something that's nice. Like I said, the summer's so short in Montreal that, let's get the most out of it. And I think employees are super happy and grateful that, if there's things that are done really to their advantage like that.
Any other things that you can think of, Michelin, that, whether it involves the community or otherwise all year round?
Yeah, in the summer, there's so many different activities that you could do as a team, get employees together to raise money for a good event, do a walk or a bike ride or something like that. And, it's a great team building activity. You can get the whole family involved as well. And the more that a family is involved and appreciative of somebody's employer, they tend to have longer, they tend to stay with the company much longer.
The loyalty factor
Yes.
is there.
And if I may add, what I've noticed is employees like to be appreciated. So a year long, it's not about what we give them, it's what we tell them. So sometimes if we just tell them, you know what, great job, appreciate what you're doing, we're here thanks to you guys. It's not just about us, but it's the team. It's because of the team we're here and all the members that make the company what the company is. So it's not just about giving a bonus because they're going on vacation or giving them more free time. It's about being flexible and understandable. So for example, if they need a day or two because their kids is sick, they shouldn't be worried of asking us because they know we can give it to them. And I think all those benefits make that the environment is more sane and viable, and it creates a nice atmosphere.
Definitely, yeah. I think the more flexible you could be, I think it's one of the greatest advantages of small, medium-sized businesses. They tend to be able to be much more flexible with employees than larger companies can in some cases.
I think it's all great ideas and great topics, and I'm sure there's actually plenty of entrepreneurs out there that have some original ideas, and maybe one day we'll explore that, listening to all those possibilities. And as we approach the end of the show, as we always do, Gad, I'll look to you and ask you, what one piece of advice would you give to today's entrepreneur?
Well, the first one is if you have dreams, if you have dreams, pursue them. Don't be afraid. Just go ahead, write down a business plan, write down your ideas. Take the risk. It's worth it. Try it out. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, well, at least you would have tried it. Secondly is surround yourself with the right people, the right accountants, the accounting firms, the lawyers, the bank managers, the right medium tools that we use, if it's a POS system, a CRM system. I think that is very important. And thirdly, you got to be happy in what you do. If you're not happy in what you do, well, don't do it, because it reflects on your personality, your lifestyle, and I think that's very important.
And Dan, the quick takeaway that I'll leave is, and it was a little subtle and sometimes not, is entrepreneurs, stay involved in your business. Don't leave anything to chance.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Gad Ben-Sabat of Pinkiblue, rather. And thanks to Michelle Mayette of Fuller Landau for all the HR tips. We're back next week, Monday night at 7 for our season finale, Josh. This is News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.